Everybody doing, Mr. Bass, and get your fish on. And Steve is here. He his signal was a little fuzzy, so he's restarting his computer, and then he's going to be on with us. It should be real quick. So I don't know. We threw this together kind of spur of the moment. And what up, Caro and Booster? Adam and Scott, it's good to see you guys. Don't know how much interest we'll have tonight since nobody was expecting us to have a show, really. But we there's been so much stuff going on in the fishing world. We were talking, and Steve and I still stay in close touch, and we were talking about, geez, man, we need to get together and do a show because there's so much to talk about right now. So, should be fun. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Stoneman Lures in the house. There's Ray. Ray Pod. Probably my biggest supporter. He's always got my back. Grandpa Woody, good to see you. Hey, Jerry. So, I don't know what's going on with Steve's computer connection. We were all connected. We were both talking back and forth, and it looked a little. He's like, "Man, my picture looks a little fuzzy here. Maybe I should restart." And I said, "Yeah, why don't you?" Pee Wee Herman's favorite team, yeah, the Expos. Well, I'm not really an Expo fan, but the Expos were part of my childhood, and it was sad. I was sad to see them go, even though I wasn't a true Expo fan. I've always, I guess I could have been an Expos fan though, because I've usually supported the losing Royals forever. I remember in the 80s when we went to the World Series, and then back in 2015, 16, when was it 14, 15, 15, 16? We actually went 2 years in a row, and we got down to we won one, and then we got down to seven games, but we lost the next one, or I don't remember if it was the first one or second one. Man, time flies, and so does my memory. But yeah, it's kind of fun. I've also got an Expo, or not. This is Expos, but I've also got a Houston Oilers hat for the same reason. Never really been a Houston Oilers fan, but man, I remember the days of Warren Moon and watching the Houston Oilers play, and so I wanted to get one of their hats. Right on, Adam. It's some of the best stuff out there. It's kind of replacing a lot of my Dr. Pepper. For sure, it's good stuff. Spill Mountain Dew on your keyboard. That's not very wise, Booster, to spill Mountain Dew on your keyboard. Not a good plan at all. So, what are we going to talk about? Waiting for Steve here. I can give you, I'll give you a little bit of info about what's been going on lately. I've obviously been pretty busy the last, I don't know, how long's it been since we really did a regular show? It's been a long time. We did one a few months ago, just one off, and we thought we might get back on track then, but then it didn't happen. Most of that's been my fault. You guys may have seen when I was actually down in Florida in it was January or February for a kayak tournament, and just wasn't very far from Steve's house, so I was able to hook up and actually meet Steve in person. We're pretty good buds now, but we had never met. This is what the online world does for you. We had never met in person, and I got down there and was able to meet with him. I'm going to send him a text here. It's like, Steve, you okay? Oh, wait. I see him. All right. Let's connect here.
Look,
man,
the band is back together.
Yeah. That's right. Reunited, and it feels so good.
Oh my gosh, dude, I've missed you. We keep in touch, but I've missed seeing your videos so much, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing a few lately. And who knows, I might get back into it. I'm kind of feeling more in the groove lately. And I've spent a lot of time fishing and not videoing.
I think you want to know it's crazy when you take a little bit of a break. I don't think a lot of people realize the stress that you put on yourself to try to do something well, and then also to put out a product that you think people might enjoy and might be entertained by, and you go through like a like you go through periods where you just don't. It isn't that you don't feel creative, or it's just tiring on you.
Yeah, it is. It will grind you down, and
Yes.
I think the challenge in the fishing space is how do I create content that's unique?
Yeah.
I mean, so many guys do the same stuff, and I'm guilty of it as well. I get sucked into doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
But I would like to get a little more creative. So, Adam, how many yak trips have I been on? I say I went down to Steve's stomping grounds, down the Harris chain. That was a whole new world for me down there. But that was fun. I got to meet Steve, and I got to fish, and I mean, it was like still ice on the ground here at home. So to be able to go down there and it was awesome. And then a little while later, I went down to Louisiana to Caddo Lake, and that is such a wild place. If you've never been there, it's just like swampy cypress trees everywhere. Really awesome, cool place as well there. I don't know if I've been anywhere else or not, or just fished a lot of local stuff here. What have you been fishing? Where have you been fishing? Frog Pond?
The frog pond's been horrible.
Has it?
Yeah, I mean, we just have not. We got rain yesterday for the first time. Usually down here we get like 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We get like a really good 15-20 minute storm. And that really helps the ponds all throughout the area. This is the first year, other than the storm at Fort Lauderdale, here in Apopka, for me, I mean, we're probably down, the frog pond's probably down 12 or 13 feet.
Wow.
So, like,
holy cow, what happened?
It's just, we just are getting no rain. There's none. It hit, like I said, it hit last night, but we need it on a consistent basis so that the water table just it gets so drenched up that it just starts overflowing our ponds. And that's when the fishing starts to get a little bit better. But right now, I mean, the frog pond grass is like, I'm not even joking. You can't get anything through it right now.
Wow.
You need to have a little bit up there. And I was talking to someone, it might have been, I told you, I talked to Brendan from, I think he's Brown Bait Company now.
Yeah.
I was seeing frogs, no joke, that were like this. And that's probably 14 inches.
Holy cow.
And I'm like, how is this possible? I've never seen them like this, but they're able to get into the little skinny water, eat, whatever bugs, and then they're not targeted by bass at all because the bass can't get in there. And so it's made my fishing become really, it's been really tough for me lately.
I caught a really nice snapping turtle the other day. Dude, trying to get a snapping turtle off your line, that's crazy.
Yeah, they're getting my hook is what happens.
Yeah. I was able to get it out of him because he didn't eat it. And normally they don't eat it. Normally you end up snagging them. A lot of times I'll snag them in the tail. That's brutal, trying to get them out of the tail. But this time it kind of got under his belly, and the belly's, it's hard, but it's much softer, of course, than the shell, and you can get a hook will penetrate it. But I was able to get him out on the ground and roll him on his back, and I was able to get it out of him.
I hooked a snapping turtle last year with a frog, and it was one of the best bites I've ever seen, because it was a little rat. As the rat was coming across water, there was this giant wake like this coming behind it. So I thought it was a huge bass coming outside of like a grass patch. So I slowed down and I twitched it once, and then I heard this was soup. It was like and I went, oh my gosh, was that a bass? I set the hook, and it just, all I saw were air bubbles. And I'm like, oh no, I got a turtle. And as it got closer to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a big snapping turtle. And it got, I don't even know, 5 or 6 feet. I had the rod like this. The rod snapped, cracked me right there.
Oh,
and when it hit me,
right between the eyes,
it like right on the edge, it like, I had a whole bunch of swear words to start off with.
Yeah, of course.
And like beyond swear words. And then I thought, my brain just stopped and went, what am I doing out here right now? And it was still hooked. And then as I pulled it in a little bit, I grabbed the line, pulled it in. Finally, the lure pulled out of its mouth. And I was like, okay, I need to go home. And I had like this red mark. Sonia's like, what the hell did you do at the pond? I'm like, I don't even want to tell you what I did. I'm so embarrassed by it.
Oh man, that's funny.
So welcome back to YouTubeverse, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be back.
And and you have some new news.
Yeah, I've got. I guess the most surprising news is I am relocating. I'm moving. My company got a big project down in Arkansas. So we're packing up the house right now, and we're going to be moving down there. And the good news is that part of the world, the fishing's probably even a little better down there than it is up here where I'm at. It's in the Ozarks, where right now I'm 2.5 hours from the Ozarks, so that'll be nice. But yeah, we're packing the house up, and it's kind of a bittersweet thing, because anytime you've got new opportunities and new exciting things, that's fun. But literally, my grandson moved 2 houses down from me right now. I can step out in the front yard and see him out front of his yard playing. First time in my entire life I've ever had that opportunity, and now I'm gonna have to leave him, which really sucks. And my daughter too. I'm sad to leave my daughter too.
I mean, Heather's moving into my back room, just so you know.
Who is?
Heather.
Oh, right.
You're moving there. She's moving to Florida.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, I guess I'm going to get more fishing kind of in that Beaver Lake area.
That'll be good.
Beaver Lake, folks, is kind of the area I'll be at.
I think that'll help your fishing. I think learning those different areas always helps.
It should help. It should help. Yeah. I hope I have time to fish. I mean, it's a massive, complicated, crazy schedule project, but we'll see. Hopefully, I do have the time. Unlike some YouTubers, I have a real job, and as you do as well.
Yeah.
But so we'll just see. I hope I've got fishing time, and I hope I got YouTube in time as well.
It's almost summer, so I can do Thursday and Friday nights for this thing if we want to do this.
Right on. Okay. I think I probably could too. Yeah,
we don't have swimming on Thursdays and Fridays. We have Monday through Saturday, 7 to 9:30 in the morning, and then we do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 to 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
That kid's busy.
Yeah. Actually, you want to know what this? I have no problem admitting this now, because it was the right decision. We've decided to take one day off a week to give Thomas a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
And his schoolwork has been exceptional because of it.
Oh man, that's great.
So, I think he has like his lowest grade might be like a 98 right now. And that's, school comes first.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we love swimming, but school comes first.
Yeah, I had some friends that their family were huge swimmers, and when their kids were little, our kids were little. We kind of did stuff together, and they were like, "Our kids are going to be swimmers. That's how they're getting into college. That's their ticket." And we are focused, dedicated, yada yada yada. Well, I think that worked for one of the daughters, and then the second daughter, sometime around freshman year or so, said, "You know what? I'm not swimming anymore. Don't want to do it. Not interested." And, it's like, we've spent years and years and years doing it. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and thousands of dollars. What do you mean you don't want to do it anymore? But, that's just her life. She wanted to live her life, and, that's the way it goes. And she found another way to college, and, it worked out. But I just to your point, though, at least having a day a week off for other things like schoolwork. He may find someday that there's something in school that interests him more, or who knows what. You never know.
Yeah,
or he might be the next Michael Phelps. We'll be pulling for him.
Yeah, like swimming. Thomas is an amazing swimmer.
Yes.
I mean, Thomas is amazing. Went to state championships again this year. Qualified for every event. As a 12-year-old, that's outrageous. But when you get to 13, there's you have to make a real big drop in to make those state championships. And he's not crazy far away from those things, just turning 13. But really, the biggest thing at 13 is the price. So, yeah, that's a question we're going to get to.
Holy crap!
There is a drastic price in how much a bathing suit costs at 12 years old and 13 years old.
Are you serious?
Now, I'm not joking here. This is no joke.
Well, I mean, it can't be more material. I mean, they keep getting smaller and smaller. What the heck are you talking about?
Okay, so Thomas gets a really good bathing suit at 12 years old. We were paying probably, I'm going to regret saying this if my wife watches this, $100.
Wow.
And that would last us 6 months. Give or take. The new bathing suit, which was just purchased this afternoon, will be here on Tuesday. We get to wear for 8 races. 8.
Just 8 races? What do they expire after it's been in the water so many times? They just expire?
They start to melt or something goes away.
Yeah.
We got a discount of 25% off on this one. And we're a member of the swim outlet, so it gave us another 10% off. And
35% off.
My price to have it shipped here, $312.43.
Holy crap! That's a Hinkle trout. Well, no, Hinkle trouts are actually way more than that now, but still. Oh man, that's a swim bait. That's a Major's glide bait price.
That's not
goodness.
No exaggeration at all.
Why only 8 races though? I mean, what's the point of that?
So they're so tight and thin that they start to expand, and when they expand, they grab water. So then it becomes like a drag suit.
Yeah. So then you can't. I gotcha.
So this is no joke. There's a couple people that we know that put on a different tech suit every day that they go swimming in a meet.
Oh my gosh.
So they wear it for one day, it's gone. And then they put a new one on the next day.
Wow.
That's next level.
Yeah,
swimmers.
I'll say.
Yeah.
So how does his schedule change once he gets to 13? I mean, is the training schedule real similar, or does it get more intense, or what?
So it'll get really intense next year when he gets into 9th grade. He'll do morning and afternoons, weightlifting in the morning, training, a little bit of training, then school, then 2 or 3 hours of swimming. You need a poet, but I do. Then swimming in the afternoon. And this 13, 14, the thing is like, you can probably see him right back there. I don't know if you can see. I don't know where my finger is. Right back there is all Thomas's times.
Oh,
so,
gotcha. Okay.
So in some of the stuff, like, hold on, let me see which one it is. So in the 200 free, Thomas swam a 1:58.79.
So for us non-swimmers, I mean, that's blazing fast, huh?
Excuse me. Thomas swam a 2:11.02.
Okay.
And he made the state championships with, and he probably was 3 or 4 seconds under that for 12-year-olds. As a 13-year-old, every odd year they make drastic jumps. Thomas needs to shave 13 seconds off his 200 time.
Holy cow! Even that sounds like a lot to me.
Yeah, you generally, most kids lose 1 or 2 seconds a year.
13.
At 13, the boys start to go through puberty. Thomas is nowhere near puberty. I mean, he's having some hormone things, and he's really not very nice right now. So that will help a little bit, but we need a growth spurt. And Thomas is going to be a big kid.
Yeah.
He hasn't grown at all, and I grew really late. And so
I did too, actually. I was 5 foot tall when I was a freshman in high school.
I might have been.
I was one of the shortest kids in my class.
I think I was 5'4".
Yeah,
as a freshman.
And then over high school, I grew another foot, so I was 6 by the time I got out. And you're taller than that. 6'3".
I was 5'8" as a senior, as a shooting guard in high school. That senior year, I grew 8 inches.
Wow.
Yeah, in 3 months, by the way.
Cool. All right, we ought to talk some fishing here, because I saw, and you did too. We saw the news that the walleye cheating guys got sentenced, and everybody knows about the walleye cheating. In fact, it's the first time I can remember at my office that I had people who know nothing about fishing, don't fish, don't care about it at all, come to me at work and say, "Did you see this?
Yes.
Look at this! Look at this! Have you ever heard anything?" I mean, I cannot believe how much of the world saw that, and it's because of this video. And I've actually got the video. I thought I'd share it on the screen here. It's a couple of minutes long, but I'm sure we've all seen it. But for that one person out there who maybe has not seen the moment when these cheaters were caught,
who pled not guilty to start off with.
Yes, they pled not guilty to start off with. Here it is live for your enjoyment. Let me try to full screen this and see if that helps. Anyway, now, just a little warning. You were talking about serious cuss words. There's definitely some serious cuss words in this little video here.
There's a lot of mad people.
Yeah, there's some very, very mad people. So if that offends you, you know, for the next 2 minutes, 54 seconds, you may want to do something else.
Holy shit! Everybody to touch these guys.
Fucking piece of shit!
How many fucking tournaments have you done this, motherfucker?
Don't we need to file a police report? Jason, we gotta file a police report. All of them. All of them. Every single fucking fish.
Every tournament they can't lose. We all fucking do it. What the fuck, man? Hey,
look at that. Jesus fucking Christ.
Filleted fish.
Walleye fillets in there.
Do you have anything to say, Jake?
you call the cops.
I got video. I'm just saying. You got video?
Call the cops.
Call the fucking cops.
That's fucking theft, motherfucker.
Call the fucking cops.
Listen to me right now. Everybody listen to me right now. Jake,
I want you to leave. I don't want anybody to touch these guys. I want you to leave.
He needs to go to jail.
Call the cops. It's them. It's them.
You fucking
This is bullshit.
tournament that you done this
Cut the
motherfucker.
last one open. What was there, like 8 pounds of lead weight in these things?
Jason, we got to file police.
All of them.
All of them.
Every fucking one.
Every single fucking thing.
Fucking champ, dude.
I mean, we all fucking knew it.
What the fuck, man?
Fuck yeah, they've been doing this whole fucking time. Hey, you got him.
A filleted fish. Look at this.
Yeah.
A fillet, yeah. A fillet fish. It's a walleye
Okay.
fillet.
I think we can stop it there. Let me.
Yeah. You want to know what the crazy thing about this is that they went and weighed in, and they had, they weighed in, and everyone's like, "Wow, those fish are really heavy compared to second places who were maybe a little bit bigger." And I think the tournament director kind of, let them go and said, "We need to take photos," or something like that, and then went back and felt them and was like, "What? Why is this belly hard? I mean, is it rigor mortis already?"
Yeah.
And then that whole thing happened. But when I think we did a podcast when that thing happened. That weekend, somebody called me on like Friday or Saturday night and said, "You've got to watch this video." And then I watched it and I was like, "This is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life."
Yeah.
Having said that, I've known of other people that have done something similar.
Yeah. I definitely have known of other bass tournaments, not necessarily walleye, but I'm sure it's happened in the walleye world too, where guys are putting lead sinkers, but usually a 1 ounce lead sinker.
Yes.
Or, we're not talking. I mean, this is just insane. This is insane. What they were doing here. Let me give you a few facts about this case in case some people weren't aware of it. There's some pretty just ridiculous stuff in regards to this, and then we can talk about what they got. So this guy Chase Cominsky and Jacob Runyan, they'd been on track to win the September 30 Lake Erie Walleye Trail Tournament. They were going to win. They had the winning weight in that bag there. It was a $28,000 prize, and this win would have made them Team of the Year. So basically like Angler of the Year, but the Team of the Year award. I don't know what that paid. Listen to this. As an Ohio State prosecutor noted during the sentencing hearing, tournament directors had grown suspicious of the team's curiously unprecedented run of success leading up to that tournament. So they had been winning and winning and winning, or at least doing very well. In fact, he says the defendants in this case have won. They had 19 events since 2019, this trail. And of the 19 events, these two guys as a team had won 9 of those 19, and they'd had 11 top 10 finishes in total. So that, they won 9 of them, and then they had 2 more where they were in the top 10. So they won over 50% of the trail's events. And as a comparison, the next closest team only won 2 events, if I remember that right. The closest next finisher had won just 2 events in total. So these guys were dominating, and face it.
That was the biggest news of 2022.
Yeah.
Right. It was what everybody was. When you talked about, people came to you at work. I was on the deck of the pool, and women were walking by, had no idea about fishing, knew that I love fishing, and would stop and go, "Did you hear about this?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, of course I heard about it."
Yeah. I had people at church. I mean, everywhere I went, that people that knew I fished were like, "Did you hear about this?" And it's just crazy. So they got arrested, and the law came down. They hammered them. the long arm of the law crushed them yesterday with this sentence. And it did enter a guilty plea in March to felony charges of cheating.
Yep.
And a misdemeanor count of illegal animal ownership after they were found to have used weights to make their catches appear heavier in Lake Erie. Oh, here's another interesting fact about this that a lot of guys probably don't know. If I can find this, okay, listen to this. The ODNR, so the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, law enforcement officers executed a warrant. They seized the boat, and some of you guys probably saw the photograph of them taking the boat out of his garage. Now, get this. They found a compartment in the boat that literally smelled fishy, and it was sort of customized to have a secret compartment that would enable them to conceal, whether it be fish or something else, with in the boat. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it had a metal faceplate underneath the Ranger's console, and the officials noted that the screws that were normally kept watertight had been removed. They opened it up, and it smelled particularly foul when they opened it up. So these guys had a secret compartment where they were hiding walleye that they probably had caught, prior to the tournament, had them hidden in the compartment. So, when you do these tournaments, when you do go to take off, they make you drive your boat up and check, and they check the boat. They open the live wells. They check to make sure there's no fish in the live wells, and then you go on your way. Well, these dudes didn't have the fish in their live wells. They literally had them in this compartment underneath the console of the boat. I mean, you talk about just craziness. Of course, it was paying huge money for these guys. You figure $28,000, $30,000 a tournament, and they won a 9, and they came in second. So nine, that's just under $300,000 right there.
They had a $100,000 win on one of the tournaments too.
Oh, did they? Yeah. So we're talking big money. So thank goodness we've got the law to step in after they pled guilty of the felony charges, and they only pled for the misdemeanor of legal animal and land animal ownership. And
I'm going to let you tell what was they pled guilty of cheating and misdemeanor of illegal animal ownership. What was their sentence?
All right, hold your horses here.
Don't blink or breathe, everybody.
Yeah. I don't brace yourself, because I don't want anybody to have a heart attack or anything while they're listening to this. They were sentenced a total of 10 days in jail.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, 10 whole days. 10 freaking days. Can you believe the injustice? They had to serve 10 days. But they got 1.5 years probation, and hey, they hammered them with a fine. They crushed them. We already said they won at least $300,000. It was probably more than that. Of course, we're making the assumption they cheated on all the tournaments. We don't have any proof of that. We only have proof that they cheated on this one. But after winning more than $300,000 in winnings, they had to pay a whopping fine. Brace yourself. $2,500 fine.
To a charity.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. If they agreed to donate money to a charity, then they cut that fine in half. So $2,500 fine total, unless you donate to charity. And if you donate it to charity, then we'll only charge you half that fine. And they did lose their boat. They did forfeit the boat because they confiscated the boat and said it was part of the criminal. It was a criminal tool used. So they lost their $130,000 tournament boat, but that's all they got. Now they got their fishing license suspended for 3 years, and I've seen all these irate comments. Only 3 freaking years? This is ridiculous. Well, I totally agree with that. I think it's ridiculous. I think it should be a lifetime ban. But apparently, in Ohio, where they had the tournament, there's only a maximum of a 3-year license suspension in Ohio. So they gave them the maximum they could give them, but that's it. Mind blowing, unbelievable.
I cannot even fathom that this was all that they got. And
I can't either.
And
I can't
honestly,
either.
they'll get out, like Hammer said, they'll get out in 6.5 hours for good behavior.
Yeah,
They're
they're
not going
probably
to do
already
10
out.
days.
They're probably already out. They got sentenced yesterday. They're probably already out.
Yeah, this is for what they did in the stuff, the amount of crap that this brought up in the industry and how it made us all look bad.
Yes.
For this to happen like this and for them to get away with this tiny little slap on the wrist, you want to know what it does? It makes everyone go, okay, why shouldn't I cheat? I'm only going to get fined $1,200.
Yes. Or
if I don't get caught.
Or if they're too honest to cheat, what they do is they just say, I'm not fishing tournaments anymore. Forget it.
I mean,
and here's another thing, what you just mentioned that I want to touch on as well, because in one of the articles I read about this, the tournament director said, the entire professional fishing community has received substantial negative publicity because of this event. And he said, as a result, our entire Lake Erie Walleye Trail could not get their tournament permits renewed for the next year.
Exactly.
They wouldn't even let them have any more tournaments because of all the bad press.
This happening yesterday. I felt like I actually felt bad for our community. I felt like
me too.
This is just another one of the things that just people get away with too much crap. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to throw too much shade on them and stuff like that, but there's been other people. There's a really famous lure designer or lure maker that used to have a television show, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. He was rehooking fish and pretending like he was bringing them in for the TV show. He was catching fish after fish, and it was one fish, and there was a wildlife officer, and they got him for fish molestation. And you would have thought that this guy would have lost his TV show or anything. Never did.
I'll tell you. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And that drove me crazy. Go ahead.
I tell you who did really get hammered for cheating's maybe the wrong word, but for being dishonest is Mike Long. Yeah. Mike Long, if you guys don't know who he is, he's gone quiet because he has totally been kicked out of the fishing community.
Yes.
But he was a full-time fisherman. He had tons of sponsors. He made tons of money as a big fish catcher. He's in California. He's won tons of tournaments up there. And he was famous for catching these double-digit bass and posting them on his Instagram. And he was making crap tons of money. Uh-oh, he's got something. He's going to share something. Probably something from Mike Long. And Mike Long vanished off the face of the earth, Jason. You're right. But Mike Long got caught. There you go.
One of his numbered lures.
Yes, one of his numbered lures. He made so much money selling lures that he claimed he caught these big fish on. And guess what? Sir Snags a lot. JP Harrell's right. He got caught snagging, spawning giants on video. It's documented. And then he became disgraced. He's totally gone now. What do you know? There he is, a number
34 of the year. He made 79 of these. This is number 34.
Yeah.
This took 2.5 years to get to me.
Wow. So Mike Long got probably what he deserved, but these guys, it's just tragic the way these guys got away with this stuff. And cheating is a part of tournament fishing.
Yes.
And it bugs me in some regards that here's the reality. There are legal forms of cheating, and then there are illegal ways of cheating. What they did here is illegal. There are other ways like for example, most of the tournaments out there do not have any problem with you going out on your tournament lake and dropping a bunch of brush piles. And not only is it legal, it's not considered cheating at all. But if you're the guy competing and you don't have the time or the resources to plant your own brush piles, you have to go find brush piles. Where the dude who's planting his own, he's got his waypoint. Now he had to do the work to plant the stuff. But there's even guys who take things like horse feed and they will bait their brush piles, and it attracts bait. There's this sweet horse feed and stuff will attract bait, which attracts, other fish, which attracts bass. So then they're even guaranteed to have their, they still got to catch the fish. But, every form of cheating known to man is out there. Guys catch them and put them in baskets or barrels or something. And, every year someone gets caught doing that kind of thing.
When you start throwing a lot of money into fishing tournaments, then there's always going to be that person that's trying to skirt that line. And I don't have any knowledge of this, but for years people thought Wheeler was constantly cheating because
I definitely have heard that.
Yeah,
now, I've never heard of any proof, but
I've never heard of any proof either. But that was what everybody would talk about. Yeah, it's to throw shade on what he had done. At the same time, if we can, I'm going to transition into another disqualification. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
The only news you hear of NPFL is that the guy that won that last tournament gets disqualified for not having a fishing license.
Yes.
And that story was crazy because I had 1 to 5 to 10 anglers call me saying, "Hey, look, you're not going to believe what happened." And then when I don't, no offense to Luke, I don't really watch his podcast or listen to it, but I wanted to hear his side of the story and listen to his podcast that weekend. And what he and what the guy said were completely different than what the anglers were telling me. The anglers were kind of saying, look, Luke had said he went online and registered and did all this stuff, but he didn't click submit.
Yeah, and that's what I heard as well.
Yeah, and he did it afterwards. But if you really went back and watched when he won, the guy wasn't really excited about winning. You win $100,000. That's a life-changing amount of money for anglers. Yeah. And he wasn't jumping up and down and high-fiving people. You could tell, in my opinion, that at that point in time, he knew something was off. And he went into the polygraph, and they said, write down your name and write down your driver's license number or whatever it was, and write down your fishing license number. And at that point in time, that's when they started questioning about the fishing license. Yeah. And they knew right then that there was something off. And then out of nowhere, he didn't submit it all the way through. I don't really, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, sure. But everybody who's in those tournaments knows that they need to have their fishing license.
Yes.
Don't go someplace. I don't go to, I have my Yellowstone fishing license over here that I've had, from 10 or 15 years ago. But when I start thinking about going fishing or there's a chance I'm going to Texas to fish.
Yeah.
I've already got my fishing license for Texas, and I'm not even sure I'm going. You do these things ahead of time to make sure that you have it, because heaven forbid you should go someplace, get checked, and not have your license, and then that repercussion come back to you. So while I'm giving the guy a little bit of good grace and say yes, I think it's complete bullshit.
When I saw this story, I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So here's a picture of him. This is the guy. His name's Barron Adams. He's been a pro for 5 years. He's fished local tournaments for 15 years, local trails and stuff. I know nothing about the guy at all. And so you got to feel for a dude that legitimately goes out there. It is hard, super hard to win these tournaments. Even the NPFL, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And to do it, and to have the expectation of $100,000 and then say, holy blank, I don't have a fishing license. You want to talk about nuts. That's crazy. Now, the thing that I mentioned to you is I've never fished at his level, but I have fished opens and stuff and BFLs and these kind of things. And I guess some of the tournaments have changed, but it used to be that on the day of the check-in, I think this was all before COVID. Once COVID hit, a lot of these rules changed. They didn't have a lot of in-person meetings and stuff. But prior to COVID, every tournament I've ever been to, you have to go check in and you have to show them. If you own a boat, you got to show them your insurance. You got to show them your fishing license. There's basic things that you have to show. And then, of course, they have to verify that you've paid and all these kind of things. So the fact that they're not checking fishing licenses prior to the tournament, I mean, this would have solved this problem. I mean, it would have easily solved it. Now, I guess the tournament circuit could say, well, that's not our problem. You know, he's a professional. He does this for a living. He should have the wherewithal to go get his fishing license. But I think one thing that I've noticed about what do these tournament trails say? They always say, we care about conservation. We care about caring for fish and we care about conservation and doing the right thing. Okay, well, if you really care about conservation, then make sure all your anglers have proper fishing licenses, because that's exactly what fishing licenses are used for. They're used for conservation. So I kind of go 6 of one, half a dozen of the other here as far as laying blame. But the other thing I'll say is I've got a little bit of ADHD myself. Some people have it absolutely at extreme levels. And I do know for a fact that some people that are on the extreme spectrum have very difficult challenges just doing basic things like this, remembering to get a fishing license. So what they do in order to function in life is they have people in their life that make sure those things get done for them. Now, I'm not saying this is his problem. This is the only thing I can imagine, though. The only excuse. You need to go online and say, hey, I have a severe case of fill in whatever it is. And this is the reason. Because fishing as a professional, I mean, it's just, it's my $100,000, Steve. I mean, have you ever had a chance to win and lose $100,000? I've never even come close. I mean, it's, you know, and I guarantee the odds are he's not an independently wealthy multimillionaire. He probably really, really needed that money.
Yeah. The thing is it was funny after the whole thing happened, because at first, I'll be honest, I thought that it was like 50-50. 50% of the blame should be put on MPFL. The other 50% should be put on the angler, because it is ultimately the angler's responsibility to get the license. And that's where a majority of the people went. It is the anglers. But is the key word.
Yeah.
It is also the league's fault for not checking it and just going, okay, they did the right thing by disqualifying them. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for that.
Yeah, it's the rules.
That's the rules, and sticking to the rules. I appreciate that. But they sure should have had dotted their I's and crossed their T's and know that everybody has a license, because it not only does it tarnish him, but it really, really tarnishes the league. And at this point in time, the league has nothing to be remotely positive about. They had the John Soka problem last year. The first year they had Duncan go after the biggest person they had on their thing with Rob Turcola. It always seems like the only stuff that's going on in NPFL is the negative stuff. You don't hear the positive stuff because, first off, you don't know when the tournaments are. But second off, the negative stuff completely outweighs everything that they're doing. They don't have any positive spin on how to do this. And when it was all said and done, I felt like it was more the league's problem than the angler's problem, because honestly, you know, when you do something and you finish it, you get a confirmation number. You have all these things that you get in response. You get a receipt. You get an email back. Where did he not realize that when he didn't have all these things, that he didn't have a license? And he could have got a license. He could have made sure he had it during the practice. He could have made sure he had it on the first day. I mean, this is the truth. I went out to Montana years ago.
Mhm.
I met a guy in the bait store, and he's like, I'm like, I want to catch a steelhead bad. And he's like, let's go. We got on the boat, we started going out. Instantly I go, oh my gosh, I don't have a fishing license. Went on my phone.
Yeah.
Might have taken me 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I had an email,
Right.
I had an email number, I had a confirmation, I had it all because I was worried that I would get,
Yeah.
you know.
Not only that, you're making a great point. When I was down at Caddo Lake just a couple of months ago, I had my fishing license, but I got to a specific launch ramp. And when I got to this ramp, there was there's always like a board that has, information about the lake and stuff's going on. And I'm up there looking at it. And it says right there in bold letters, to launch at this ramp, you must have a special Texas Waters permit. It costs $12. And I was like, oh, geez. Well, even though that's not a fishing license, if you go and launch somewhere that has a state requirement or regulated requirement to pay an additional fee, you'll get disqualified if you don't pay that as well. And so I did the same thing. We were in a very remote area. I still was able to get a 2-bar signal, and I was able to go right on Texas Fisheries online and buy that special access use permit or whatever it was called. In addition, it's like you said, there's no excuse to get on the water without a fishing license nowadays, because you can almost always do it online everywhere, right on your phone.
So here in Merritt Island, saltwater fishing, you have where we all go red fishing, trout fishing, and snook fishing, the whole 9 yards. It's a mess, but you have to have a special license for that area, but it's a free license. So you go online, you print out the thing, and you sign it, and you bring it with you. Everybody who knows this, even it's free, you do this ahead of time.
Right.
I saw a thing with Jim, who's he applied online and had the final step didn't go through. That's what he is saying.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's covering for himself because he made a horrible, stupid, dumbass mistake.
Yeah, he did.
And the truth be told, I'm not joking, when this thing happened, there were several anglers that called me and said, look, this is the way the spin is going to be. They're going to tell everybody that he didn't go through. Yeah.
Right.
But how do you not know it doesn't go through? That's what makes this so
you're right.
bad.
There's no way to not know that it goes through, because you immediately get an email confirmation.
Exactly.
There's no way to not know that it didn't go through. And along these lines, here's another thing that I want to bring up. I want to bring up a little kind of controversy, if you will, that you've kind of generated in the back of my mind.
Whoa.
Yeah, you've
generated it.
Oh yeah, you're the generator. You are definitely the generator. And this is because Steve has inside information. He's been in the industry forever, and he knows the real deal about what stuff's going on. So I'm not going to disclose any names or any details, but this guy, Barron Adams, he's not the first pro that this has happened to.
Don't mention the person's name.
Yeah, I'm not mentioning anybody's name.
Yeah.
He's not the first. He's not the first that's happened to. And what bugs me is there in these tournament circuits, there is a little bit of hypocrisy going on.
A click.
There's a click, and it has to do. What I think it has to do more with anything is each angler's intrinsic value to the fishing organization, whether it's Bass or MLF or whatever. And let's just throw out who's the greatest angler of all time. Let's not use one that's currently, let's say Bill Dance. Bill Dance is at BASS right now, and he's at the top of the leaderboard, and he's doing everything. If Bill Dance forgot his fishing license, what are the odds that he's still going to take home the win? What are the odds? All right, I'm just saying, I guarantee you the odds are high. I'm not going to say it happened every time, but the odds are high that Bill Dance would not get disqualified, even if that's in the rules. Now, I'm not, take it for what it's worth, and fill in any circuit you want. What I'm saying is this kind of stuff still happens where guys, I was fishing with a pro at a tournament this summer, and he rattled off to me the names of 3 different pro anglers that he was upset with at the moment because he knows for a fact they were breaking the rules, and the tournament body did not disqualify them.
Yes.
Let their fish count. And he gave me specific reasons, and he flat out told me, why is it that this happened? Because these were popular anglers. These were popular anglers, and they didn't want to tarnish the sport, tarnish their tournament by having some sort of a scandal involved in there. They would just rather brush it under the rug and go on down the road and not deal with it. And this is kind of what Keith Poche is saying right now. He's being very, very vocal about it. And he fishes both circuits. He fishes MLF and he fishes BASS. And I think this is a BSS tournament. It was a Toledo Bend Open, right?
Yep.
He's out there rattling that cage saying, you DQ'd me and it's not fair. Now, I don't know if it's fair or not. I mean, I've looked at everything he said. I think I got a little video here I can share with you guys.
Yes. I think that, and if you've ever met Keith is one of the nicest people on the face of the earth.
Yes.
He's honest, answers things completely honest. In the story that you were telling, and I'm not going to say the person's name, but this person won the tournament, and his license had expired a day early.
Okay.
Didn't realize it, I think.
Yeah.
But one of the greatest anglers of all time, and he won. They kind of brushed it underneath the carpet.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning.
Yeah.
And it happens. It's a little scary that it happens. It might be happening a little bit more than we know. And in this case with Keith, because I'm just starting to learn about the Keith thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But it seems like it's a little sketchy.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Keith Poche he really adds flair to the professional fishing. He's very different compared to the vast majority of anglers. He loves fishing shallow. He's kind of like a John Cox. He wants to go as shallow as he can, and he will do the hard work. He'll get out and push the boat. He'll use push poles. He'll go in places that, based on the laws of physics, you don't think the boat can get there.
He's fishing on an aluminum boat with a 90 horsepower.
That's right. It's a Gator. What do they call it? Gator Works, or
yeah.
He's got most of these guys are fishing 21-foot big fiberglass boats with 250 horse motors on them, and he's fishing a 90 horse 10 boat, and he does it just so he can get back into the super skinny water. And there's probably some competitors who just hate that he does that. There are times when he gives himself a competitive advantage because they've got a glass boat. And what these tournament circuits do is they usually say, whatever boat you start with at the beginning of the year, you have to use that same boat all year long. You can't go 10 boat, fiber boat, 10 boat, fiber boat. You got to stick with the same boat all year.
Yep.
So Keith puts himself in a bad, if he's on Lake Erie and in a super deep water tournament, that little 10 boat, he's at a huge disadvantage.
Yes.
But he's willing to take that risk because he wants to fish in skinny water.
Yeah.
So I think it was Gator Tracks. That's right. Fisherman 83.
Yeah.
So day one, I think it was just day one catch. He went back into a place, and this is how he got there. I'll show you this little video here. It's very fun to watch, entertaining. Hopefully they will let me show it here because this is on Facebook. All right.
I saw this.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was him.
This is him. Look, you can watch the loop a couple times so you can see. it is. There it is.
By the way, that's the craziest thing in the world to even think of doing.
I don't know why it's skipping like that, but you know, now what's interesting is these little dams that he jumped over has these rollers on it made for boats to actually roll over, you know, from body to body. And he says that the water is in tournament waters and that this, you know, this is legal. But they DQ'd him when they found out he did it because they say he took the boat out of the water, and you're not allowed. The boat is not allowed to be out of the water for any reason, and so that disqualified him.
Yeah,
And
this is baloney.
Yeah, that's how he got DQ'd. And I don't know what is. I need to go back and see how well he was doing the first day, but he was apparently doing very well on the first.
He's having a great year in the opens, trying to requalify to get back there. You know,
yeah, he won one. He won one this year, I think.
Yeah, I think that's going to take. I think that's going to take away his chances of. I think he'll still go to the Classic, but I think it'll be that they won't be. He won't be able to. You know, taking away that thing is. He might lose a couple hundred points.
Yeah,
because of it.
Right. Yeah, it's you know, you can go look at Keith's Facebook page, and he's got a lot of update videos where he talks about what happened and why it happened. He talks about the research he did. He talks about how the fisheries department says that this is legal waters, and on and on and on. He appealed it, and his appeal, you know, got rejected. You know, he still got DQ'd. So,
and if the water's up, that isn't that big of a jump. The water's up. That's still the water could go right over that.
Yeah.
You
so
know?
that's how he got DQ'd. And what he says, and well, I don't know if he specifically says it, but I've seen a lot of guys in the comments basically say, you know, this is the double standard over there. What they're doing is they don't really like the way he wins. They don't really like the way he competes. They would rather not have to deal with those kind of headaches. And you know, they're punishing him unfairly. I can't speak for, you know, for BASS. You know, they have their reasons, they have their rules, they have their procedures. They went through the procedures. They still say he's legally disqualified. So, you know, who knows? But it's he's still fighting. He's still raising hell over this thing. And if you want to keep up with it, just go over to his Facebook page and you can get all the updates and details you want on it.
And really, you know, that thing is crazy as is, but you know, that hurts him next year for sponsorship money.
Oh, right.
For what he's doing. I mean, there's so many things that Bass and excuse me, a lot of tournaments do. This is kind of holding back a really great angler. And, you know, someone said that he apologized at the weigh-in for blowing off Mercer. Everyone should blow off Mercer. Mercer's something else. But
how did he blow off Mercer? I didn't hear about that.
He probably was mad or whatever it was. And, you know, Mercer's Mercer.
Gotcha.
But I don't think this is the right way to do things. I mean, you know, it's a lot, you know, it's a popularity contest at some points and times.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's one of the arguments they make is that he's not very popular with a lot of people. Well, there's a group of people he's not, and so they're going to stick it to him when they can. I don't have any way to know that whether that's true or not, but I know he's mad, and it seems to me like he has a right to be mad, you know, just based on what facts I have. But very interesting, to say the least, when you see kind of some of the decisions that tournament directors make. Sometimes it does seem politically motivated. Sometimes it seems because other really important anglers complain behind the scenes, you know.
Yeah.
You don't hear what's going on behind the scenes, and you know, you got to keep everybody happy. Especially there are. You and I have talked about this before. There are certain anglers in every circuit that have a lot of weight and pull in the circuit because they bring a ton of money and publicity to the circuit. And then there's others that are kind of maybe further down the pecking order, and they don't have nearly as much clout or pull to be able to stick up for themselves.
I don't know if this is true, but for years I had heard that the reason why they don't allow Alabama rigs in bass tournaments was because KVD didn't like it. He thought it made everyone else get to his level faster. And that it was him and a bunch of other high-profile anglers that complained about it that made them take out the Alabama rig. Now, I don't know if that's true or false, but it probably is false, to be honest, knowing Kevin. But that was what was going around. If we can talk about the people who aren't real popular, to jump into the people who are super popular, and we can talk about this. I did a video about this. I still believe it, even though he had a bad tournament last one. But I think the biggest news of the year is Milliken getting a classic bid.
Oh my God!
Also, where he's at in Angler of the Year points. I think he's 6th or 10th or 12th or whatever it is.
He's crushing it.
He is, and people can like and dislike. I understand it. I think it's the biggest news of all time. I remember years ago Duncan saying that no YouTuber would ever do well in tournament fishing. And here he is. He comes in 5th or 6th or 4th or 5th or 6th in his first tournament, wins a classic bid, and then, got top 50, top 55 this past weekend.
Okay, get this. Ben Milliken, if you go to his stat page at Bassmaster, he has 3 tournaments he's fished. 3. Total, his whole career, 3 tournaments. He's already won $65,834. And of those 3 tournaments, time in the money twice. So he has a first place finish and 2 top 10 finishes.
Yep.
And I guess his third tournament, he wasn't in the money, but he's already, with just 3 tournaments, won one and had another top 10 finish. It's like you said, he's crushing it. I mean, it's like, and I was like, heck yes, a YouTuber, because we can get no respect in the YouTube world, on the professional fishing side. Not to compare ourselves. I'm not comparing myself to the pros by any means. But they all want to say, there's 2 types of fishermen. There's a YouTuber and there's a pro, and they don't cross. They don't ever meet. There's no such thing as a professional YouTuber. Well, Milliken just proved them wrong. And they love to use Turkle as a perfect example. See, look, Turkle can't do it. And so it just proves none of them can do it. Well, guess what? Milliken just gave them a big FU. And he did it in style, classic fashion.
The Turkle thing, I mean, Turkle went to the NPFL, which was a watered down fishing tournament. No offense. It's a watered down average angler thing. They've got some great anglers in there, but it isn't the elites. The opens are I believe the opens and the invitations are the most competitive fishing there is out there. I think in this case, I actually prefer to watch and look at the opens than I do the elites. Yeah, and
I've heard other people say that about the opens, that the opens are the toughest tournaments because you have so many. You usually got 200 to 250 anglers you're competing
and co-anglers
for one, and co-anglers. So you might have a 500-man deal. You're competing. You're all fishing for the same fish, and then on top of that, a bunch of those guys are local sticks.
Yeah, they're only in one tournament.
Yeah, they only in one tournament. A bunch of guys who live and fish at Toledo Bend all day, every day. They're out there. You got to beat all the locals.
Yeah,
and so there is a pretty solid argument to be made that winning an open is even more difficult than the elites, because the elites you only fishing against 80, 90. Is it even 100 guys? I don't think it's even 100 guys right now.
I think it's like it might be 100, but there's 10, 15 guys that are in the elites that just are, no offense,
never going to win.
Yeah, I don't mean any disrespect to Rick Clunn or Larry Nixon. They're not in. They might have one good tournament a year, but consistently they're in the top. They're in the bottom 15 or 20%. And they're going to use their legendaries exemption, which is complete horse crap, to get back in. That I think is a horrible thing. No offense to Rick Clunn. I love Rick Clunn. I think he's one of the greatest.
Yeah.
But Rick Clunn doesn't compete with these new guys.
Right.
He just doesn't.
Right. No,
it isn't that he isn't a great, fantastic angler. You know, I'm 51 and honestly, on Monday I'm 51. I don't like my birthday being out there. I'll admit it. I can't fish the way I could 10 years ago.
Oh, I know. Every year you get older. It's right.
Things start cracking that I don't even know that they're supposed to crack. I got up the other morning and I thought to myself, I didn't even know I had a muscle in my back. It hurt so bad. And when you get that older age, it's hard to compete with those guys that are constantly, like Palaniuk and these guys. They're on special diets and they're working out. It's hard to compete with those guys.
That's why I do have a lot of respect for someone like Rick Clunn. I mean, the older he gets, the odds just get tougher and tougher and tougher for him. And
they do.
And he still hammers. He hammers and plugs away and fights and claws. And, you know, every once in a while, you know, a couple of years ago, he actually won one.
Yeah.
I think it was St. John's River or something.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. So, but you're right. It's
hard to be consistent when you get
very hard
that age.
So the whole Ben Milligan thing, I think, is awesome. I don't know him from Adam. I even have to admit I haven't watched many of his videos, but I still love to see him succeed as a YouTuber. And you know, one thing he's proven is you put the time in on the water, you can compete.
Yeah.
And
you want to know what the thing about Ben is, that he was doing it. He's not doing it. I mean, I know he was throwing that hog walleye, and Brendan said today that the brown bait company said you can't buy a hog walleye anywhere right now because of him, which I understand.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Not only has he won professional tournaments, he sells a crap ton of lures for 6 cents fishing.
Yeah.
You know, and probably more than many pros do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I told Brendan this afternoon. I said, the only spike you ever see in for lure manufacturers who sponsor somebody is if somebody wins and then they say it. There was, and I said this to Brendan today. There was years ago, Edwin won the Classic, and he was using this certain jig, and the guy probably had like $50,000 in sales the year before.
You talking about the black hair jig?
Is that might be it?
The black hair jig up at the St. Lawrence River.
Yes, and then Edwin wins, and then out of nowhere, the guy has $2 million in orders over the next year.
Yeah, holy
cow! You can't even produce them.
Yeah.
So unless you win, that's the only time you really see a significant jump in your stats.
Yeah.
So Ben winning and saying the hog walleye, but the other thing is Ben is not. You don't ever hear a lot of guys talk about throwing those giant swim baits that Ben is unbelievable throwing.
Yeah, he's so good at it.
He's so good at it. And most anglers don't go that route.
Right.
And he did
I think a lot more. I think a lot more will after this.
I think a lot more will do it too. And let's just be honest. What happens if he competes and is in the final 6 of the Classic?
Oh, man. Will that be something or what?
I mean, that'll be the biggest Classic of all time, because he doesn't have like a little group of people that watch him. He has hundreds of thousands of people.
He could, I mean, Bass should be praying that happens, because he will bring so many. It's like you were telling me, I think it was the one we had Ken Duke on, and Ken was saying that, you know, they did the survey down at the Classic where, have you ever heard of any pro anglers? And even Kevin Van Dam, almost no one had heard of him.
Yeah.
But Ben Milligan, there's going to be so many people that know him inside and out. He'll be able to draw crowds like you won't believe. So.
And there's still a lot. There's people that just don't watch him, or they think he's clickbait. I'll be honest. I've watched a little bit more of him. I will be completely honest. I was rooting for him at that tournament, and he's one of the reasons I've kept a little bit bigger eye on the opens. I will say I was a subscriber years and years ago, and then Thomas and I were watching a video one day, and he said some really disgustingly foul language. And I had to unsubscribe after that because I had to explain to Thomas something I didn't like to explain at 9 years old.
Great.
It happened with Turkula and it happened with Milliken, and I was pissed off.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know Ben at all. I wish him the best. I'm happy to see what he's done because I like to see that underdog. And I don't even know if you can consider him an underdog because he's just a really, really good angler. But you know, it's going to make the Classic really interesting. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it sure will. All right. Another thing I was going to share with you guys is, because, you know, we started the show, first half of the show was really about cheating and cheaters. It's going on in the kayak fishing world as well. And it's been a problem forever, and it still continues to be a problem. And I thought I would just share a couple of things with you guys to kind of help you understand what that's about as well, because kayak fishing is getting more and more popular. There's a very low entry point. You know, the tournaments, even at the national level, are only about $250 a pop. And a lot of these are paying $10,000 or more to the winner.
Yeah.
So those are going to, it's the fastest growing segment of fishing in the world right now is the kayak fishing. And I wanted to show you guys who don't tournament fish, before I show you how these guys cheated real quick, what the expectation is on tournament day. You know, you don't have live wells. You don't catch and keep your fish. What you do is you catch them, you take a photo, and then you release. Catch, photo, and release. And in order to photo them, you have to measure them on a measuring board. And there's very specific ways that you have to lay your board and measure them on the board. So I'm going to show you a quick shot of that real quick of what that looks like. If I can, yeah, here it is right here. All right. So this is a typical bump board measuring board, and how a fish is supposed to be measured on tournament day for kayakers. The fish has to be pointing in this direction to the left. And the rail, or the whatever the board on the edge, you can see the fish's mouth has to be closed. It's the fence, the part to the left, and then the mouth has to be touching the fence. If it's not touching the fence, it's not going to be a legal catch, or you're going to be penalized for it, depending upon which circuit you're in. And then you have to have that thing that says Bassmaster Kayak Series. That's your identifier. They give you a number, or an identifier, like a 4-digit number, to identify that you're in the right tournament. That has to be in the picture. And then the fish has to lay exactly the way you see it. And then, of course, where the tail's at, that's your measurement. In this case, this one looks like it's about a 16 3/4 inch long fish. You cannot cover up the fish in a way that discloses or conceals anything. You can hold your hand on the fish. Most people put their hand on the fish somewhere around where that Bassmaster sign's at, that you can see the red hand area. That's where your hand can be to hold the fish in place. So this is a legal way to catch a fish, to submit your catch. So how do people cheat? One of the ways that they used to cheat a lot is by modifying the measuring board. And I'll show you an example of that right here. They've kind of, at the national level, they've kind of nipped this one in the bud because they've standardized the board, which is really good for the catch company that makes these boards. All these pro tournaments now, you're only allowed to use their brand of board.
Yeah.
So I wish I'd gotten in on that business deal. But hey, you know, whatever, you know. So let me show you the photo of this dude that got caught cheating. This was several years ago, before they switched to the catch boards. Now, if you notice this hog trough, this was one that guys used to use a lot. And you can see the first 7 inches, there's no lines to measure, right? And that's because a legal fish is never going to be that short, almost never. I have been in a tournament or two where there was no size limit. So you could have logged a 6-inch fish if you wanted. But in this example, what this dude did is he took his hog trough and that 8-inch area, he cut it down so that it wasn't really 8 inches. It was only, say, 6 inches. So that every time he put a fish on and measured it, it showed that the fish was 2 inches longer than what it really was.
Yeah.
And it just looked perfectly normal.
His hands covering it.
Yeah. So this is how he did it. Yeah. You can see his hand is covering where the line starts, the 8-inch line. So you can't even see that he's cut that board in half. But he eventually got caught, and and so the catch board now, it's a metal board, and you have to bring the board into the tournament, and they check the board, make sure nothing's been modified, and they put a special sticker on the fence, and they have to see the sticker on the fence so that they know you haven't cheated. So that's one form of cheating. Another one has to do with modifying the fish. This dude several years ago got caught. Actually, what he did was he cut a bass's tail off. So he had this bass tail that he would then we'll see in the picture. See that tail?
Oh my gosh.
That tail does not belong to that fish. That's a tail from another fish that he caught and cut the tail off. And then he would put his hand there, and now he's made his fish longer. Now, in this case, the fish isn't legal anyway because the mouth's open. The mouth's supposed to be closed. But this is how this dude, and here's the thing that most of these cheaters are dumb people, quite frankly, because they keep winning over and over and over, and everybody starts saying, like, how the heck can this guy win? Oh, and that's what happened to these dudes with the Walleye Tournament Cheaters that we started. They won 11 out of 19 9 out of 19 tournaments and had 2 more top 10 finishes. People are going to start saying, what's going on with these guys? Nobody wins that much. And that's what happens. A lot of cheaters.
Do you see Michael Bradley's thing? That just happened recently. The guy took the same picture, multiple pics of the same fish, had it in different angles or whatever.
I got a picture of that. Let me show you that. Yeah. Let's see. Where's that at? This guy took pictures of the same fish over and over again. So he was he must have been keeping it on a clip next to, this is the same fish. It's exactly the same length, 17 1/4, 17 1/4, 17 1/4. But you see in the one on the bottom, the fins are really red. Well, by that time, that fish is super stressed. There's no telling how long he's.
Oh, you can make those changes in the vibrancy while you're editing on your phone. Vibrancy.
Yeah, you could do that as well. I think that fish looks really stressed to me. But you're right. He may just be making color changes on his photo. To make these fish look different. But fish have very unique identifying markers. You can see as you follow the lateral line about 2/3 back, there's a little jog and a little thing poking up there, a very small blemish that's noticeable. Anybody can tell if you really look closely, that's the same fish. So this this recently happened. He did not get prosecuted because he DQ'd himself. Once the word got out, he DQ'd himself. And so since he didn't collect any money, he wasn't guilty of any crime.
Again, you want to know what happens? You start putting money in the way of, you're making a living to fish. The worst possible things can come out of people because, a lot of people, it's hard to make a living professional bass fishing or professional fishing at all.
So hard.
And you go to that other level, that next level. Yeah. So I don't know if you saw this. This has nothing to do with cheating, by the way. Okay. Did you see what Elton Jones Jr. did at Heavy Hitters against everybody else?
Goodness. I mean, dude, he's on fire lately. He has done so well.
He beat the whole field.
He caught like 19 fish, and the next biggest catch was like 4 fish or something crazy like that, right? I mean, the dude's on fire. What happened there? How did he? I just heard about it. I didn't watch it.
I didn't get to watch much of either. I think everyone thought they were only supposed to catch 5 fish. He realized they had the old format. And he went and found a school and just beat them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he had 89 pounds to like second place was like 22 or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was the biggest beatdown of all of them.
Yeah, it was an amazing beatdown. I did hear that. I listened to an interview of him on one of the guys' shows the other day, and it was fascinating listening to him. He was throwing that little bait of his, the G-Crack
Gills Bellow or something.
Skill Shad.
Yeah.
Bellow Shad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the one that's the same thing as the Thunderhawk.
Yeah. So he's on fire. He also had the big bass. He caught $100,000 big bass or $50,000 big bass. The dude's he's dialed in right now.
Yeah.
Did you also see that Wheeler had the worst tournament ever of his entire career?
I did.
And you know, I thought that was nice to see. You know, he posted a video about it, and you know, everybody needs to see. Look, this is way harder than it looks. And
he's made it look too easy for 3 years.
He did. He made it look so easy. So, you know, he's just going through a phase, and it happens, and he's going to be back on the top. You know, there's no question. But wow, this tournament fishing game, it's fun, but boy, it's brutal.
It's a different breed of person that goes out there and thinks that they can do it and then do it well. I mean, and you know this, I blocked somebody today.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about how he wanted to challenge Randy Blackett in fishing tournament, and he could outfish me, and he could outfish all these people. And I thought to myself, and I commented saying, do you think Randy, and I'm not a fan of Randy, do you think Randy has the time or wants to go fish against some dude that just rambles bull crap nonstop and take that chance of meeting you and you being a real jerk and an asshole, and now you think that because you can hide behind a screen name that you can fish with, you know, the best of the best. And I'm not calling Randy the best of the best, but you know, it's just ridiculous.
Go do it. They'll take your money. They'll take your money.
Put your money where your mouth is, Wolverine.
That's right. They'll take your money and they'll let you fish wherever, any open there is. And there's a ton of opportunities to fish tournaments and try to qualify for the highest level, just like Milliken's doing right now.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah, boy, what a week. What a last few weeks of fishing. Man, there's just been some crazy stuff going on. It's been kind of fun and exciting to watch.
You're back. That's all that matters.
Yeah, right. That's what everybody's been waiting for. There's no question.
Ben's only winning because you're back.
All right. That's why. Yep. I'm his lucky charm.
You're his muse.
Yeah, right. I mean, I had to come back for him. I mean, it was all about helping Ben.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
cool.
One of us had to. If it wasn't me, it had to be you.
Exactly. It's one of us. It's always one of us.
Yeah.
Dude, this has been fun.
We'll make sure we do it again very soon.
Yeah, we ought to do it very soon. Maybe next week. Okay. You and I have to talk.
Yeah.
I know you're moving. I'm moving, so we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But thanks everybody for showing up and supporting the Get Your Fish On and the Mr. Bass channel and giving us your time and listening to the show. There must have been another show on at the same time because at one point our numbers just skyrocketed. So that show must have ended, and then all those guys came over to watch it. So we got some good viewers at the end. So that's great.
Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on both channels, please.
Yeah, like us, subscribe, share, do whatever. We
whatever
appreciate
the hell
that
it is.
a ton. And if you'd like to see some, if you'd like to see more of this, give us some suggestions in the comments on the kind of things you'd like to see us discuss in the future. All right, my buddy's frozen. It looks like he's frozen. Oh, there he is. He's back. You were frozen for a second there, Steve, which is good that it didn't happen during the whole show.
Yeah.
But thanks everybody for watching, and as always, we'll let Steve close us out.
Take fishing, get your fish on. See y'all soon.